So I want to talk a little bit about the best method that I have discovered for storing palm tree pollen for long term, typically up to a year. This storage method will work fine. Here are some branches I cut off of the flower rack of a triangle palm, Chrysolidocarpus decarii. So obviously this is just a couple branches, and you can see that these male flowers here have not opened yet. These ones at the tip have opened. So once they open, they release pollen into the air, and gravity and wind carries it off, and they lose 90% of their pollen volume, their pollen count, once they open. So that's why I harvest all these once most of them are still closed. I strip off all the males, the yellow ones, with my fingers onto a piece of white construction paper, and I put that onto a air frying basket, and it goes into this low temp oven, which you can buy on Amazon. And I have it at 105 for 14 hours, and we have about 10 hours and 51 minutes left to go. So in another 6 or 7 hours, we'll check it again, and you can see it again. Right now they all look pretty normal. Some of them have just changed color slightly, but that's only after about 3.5 hours or so. So let's check them again, and we'll watch the progression of the drying, and then we'll talk about storage. All right, we're at about 7 hours and 45 minutes. So about halfway through. I'm going to move these over slightly. So usually halfway through, and it's easy to go in here and touch this basket even though it's in an oven, because it's only 105 degrees. So it's only 7 degrees above body temperature. Can't hurt you. But make sure the oven's not at 400 or 500 degrees when you're sticking your hand in there, obviously. All right, so because they're kind of layered and in there thick, I'm just going to take, it's better not to touch these with your hands and get your oils from your hands on them. So I'm just gonna take a random item and just kind of mix them up a little bit so that the ones in the bottom can also have a chance to dry out. All right. Make sure that they're fairly evenly distributed. And right here at the top, I have Deca on here for the type of flowers they are, Decarii. So I'm looking pretty good, and as you can see, they are very pale, almost like a hay or straw color, and drying out very nicely. So I found that 14 hours is kind of ideal, especially if they're fresh. So let's put them back in here. And according to the timer, we have another 7 hours and 45 minutes at 105. Oven is off. So let's pull these out and take a look. Everything looks very dry, looks nice. Push on it, crackle, crackle, crackle. No moisture left in there. So a good way to check to see if the pollen's been loosened up really well is to take a little bit of it, like this, just a small handful, stick it in the bag, okay? And then hold it up to something dark. And what I do is kind of crinkle the flowers a little bit, and then give it a couple taps. So after a couple of taps, there's a lot of pollen that just got released. I'll put it against something dark there, if you can see that. So right there, there's a lot of pollen. Right in the bottom, you can see the powder. So just by me flicking it, tapping it a little bit, crunching it a little bit, that means that the pollen's releasing. There's a ton of pollen right in the corner. You can see it's nice and frosty. Looks better against something darker. There you go. So you can see all the pollen. So yep, this is good to go. It's dried. If you take out a little handful and you do the little flicking test, and this is mostly clear here, and it's not releasing all that pollen out of the flowers, then you need to just dry it a little bit longer. So this we'll throw away. And what I'll do is take 2 vacuum seal bags. And this is a vacuum sealer that I bought off of Amazon. Okay. And we'll just kind of split this up in halves. So half of it will go in one. And half in the other. And even as I'm pouring it in, you can kind of see there how there's just pollen just already sticking to the edge of the bag. Lots of pollen in here. Definitely important to collect flowers before they open, and then crack them slightly, and then dry them so that they can kind of open up and release that pollen. This one's got a lot of pollen in it too. So I just want to make sure that both those bags are about the same size, and they are. And then we'll come over here and close this down, lock it, flatten this out a little bit, which helps get more air out, nice and flat. All right, nice and sealed. Make sure you get a nice tight seal. There's no air escaping. Take a Sharpie, C to carry eye. Let's see, 14 hours at 105 degrees Fahrenheit, and then pre-anthesis, and today's date, first day of June. All right. Then this will go into the freezer, and is good in a freezer at 29 degrees Fahrenheit for up to a year. We're done.